I was 27, and every woman in my village, including my own mother, had already written my ending. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was a warning. She looked at me, stirring the pot, and sighed a sigh so heavy it felt like a sentence. "Amma," she said, "you spend all your time talking to books. You'll end up alone." I believed her. I truly did. I was ready to accept that bitter future, to just become the quiet, unmarried woman in the corner. But then, one sunset, I saw them. It wasn't a movie. It wasn't a dream. It was just a woman, and their son, walking home with a basket of vegetables. But the way they held hands, the way she carried that stubborn clay pot, it was proof that everything I had been told about love and marriage was a lie. This is the story of the 40 minutes that saved me. The story that taught me the difference between a love story and a partnership, and how sometimes the greatest love lessons come not from a grand gesture, but from a quiet walk home. Please subscribe as you watch and listen to my unsettling truth. I remember sitting in our dusty village courtyard, the harsh afternoon sun beating down, and watching my Auntie Neka, the woman on the right, always so sturdy in her blue wrapper, quietly stirring the soup. The air wasn't thick with smoke from the wood fire, but with something heavier, unspoken judgment. I was 27, and in our village, that was practically an expiration date for marriage. Just an hour before, my own mother had sighed, the sound like a punctured tire, and said, "Amma, you spend all your time talking to books. No man wants a wife who can only argue like a lawyer. You'll end up alone." I wanted to shout back, but the words stuck like glue. So, I sat there, chopping greens for the stew, like the girl in the picture, preparing the food, feeling the weight of my future crush me. I genuinely believed her. The day everything changed was when they arrived. I was fetching water from the community well when I first saw them. It was a sunset that painted the sky in shades of gold and purple. Obi and Ada, the woman carrying the pot. They weren't just walking, they were moving as one. Hand in hand, a perfect, unbroken chain. Ada walked tall, a clay pot balanced effortlessly on her head, her face glowing. But what struck me wasn't her beauty, it was the way Obi looked at her. It wasn't a look of ownership, but of pure awe. And their son, little Kofi, toddled beside them, copying his father by trying to hold his mother's free hand. They weren't rich. They weren't driving a fancy car. They were just two people, walking home after a day at the market. You can see Obi with a basket of fresh vegetables, but they looked richer than any king and queen. Ada walked tall, a clay pot balanced effortlessly on her head, her face glowing. But what struck me wasn't her beauty, it was the way Obi looked at her. It wasn't a look of ownership, but of pure awe. And their son, little Kofi, toddled beside them, copying his father by trying to hold his mother's free hand. They weren't rich. They weren't driving a fancy car. They were just two people, walking home after a day at the market. You can see Obi with a basket of fresh vegetables, but they looked richer than any king and queen. I learned they were the talk of the town, but not for gossip, for their bond. Even though I couldn't help to admire them as I observed the golden orb of the sun, a benevolent eye in the vast African sky, began its slow descent, painting the horizon in a breathtaking canvas of fiery oranges, soft lavenders, and deep, regal purples. Adewale, his hand firmly, yet tenderly, clasped around Amara's, felt the familiar rhythm of the village path beneath his worn sandals. The air, still warm from the day's heat, now carried the promise of a cooler, star-dusted night. Amara, a vision of grace, moved with an effortless poise, the clay pot perched perfectly on her head, a vessel of water for their evening meal. The pot, dark and smooth, caught the fading light, reflecting tiny pinpricks of the sky. It was a skill passed down through generations, a silent language spoken by the women of their village, a blend of strength, balance, and quiet dignity. Adewale, his own basket heavy with the day's bounty, plump yams, vibrant green okra, and a handful of fiery red peppers, felt a familiar pride swell in his chest as he looked at her. Her wrapper, a kaleidoscope of patterns and colors, flowed around her as she walked, a living tapestry against the earthy tones of the path. Their son, Kian, a whirlwind of boundless energy and curiosity, was already far ahead. His small frame, clad in a brightly patterned Adire wrapper, was a blur against the dusty path. He chased after the first few fireflies, tiny beacons of light blinking into existence in the deepening twilight. His laughter, a pure, uninhibited sound, echoed through the quietening village, a melody that was as much a part of the evening as the chirping crickets. "Look, Papa! Mama! They dance," he'd exclaim, his voice a joyful treble. Back to the gist, the secret of the stubborn pot. Our village elder, Papa Ojo, a wise, old man often seen carving wood under the big Irako tree, told me their story. Ada and Obi had faced a brutal storm early in their marriage. Obi had lost his farm to a sudden flood. He fell into a deep, dark place. He couldn't talk, couldn't eat. He felt like a failure. One evening, Ada came home from the market, exhausted, carrying the same heavy clay pot. She put it down, sat next to him on the floor, and didn't offer a single word of forced encouragement. Instead, she said, "This pot, Obi. It's stubborn. It's clay and water, baked in fire. It cracks sometimes. But it holds the water we need to live. You are the fire, and I am the water. We are broken and fixed, but we will never stop holding each other." That simple act of silent, enduring partnership was their turning point. Obi didn't need a sermon, he needed to know she saw their life as a shared burden, not just his failure. The lesson I learned from Auntie Neka. I went to my Auntie Neka, the one whose tough love often felt like a wound. I confessed my fears, repeating my mother's words, "I'll end up alone." Auntie Neka put down her ladle. "Amma," she said, "your mother worries you'll settle for less. Obi and Ada, they are not a love story. They are a partnership. That is what lasts. Ada isn't just a beautiful face, she's a beautiful spirit. She supports her husband's dream while she carries her own load. He respects her mind as much as her body." She looked at me, her eyes suddenly soft. "Don't chase love, Amma. Chase a partnership where you are both carrying the pot, and neither of you feels heavy." I finally understood. My worth wasn't in getting a man, it was in becoming the kind of person who could be a true partner, strong, supportive, and whole on my own. This story is about the 40 minutes I spent that evening, from seeing Obi and Ada at the well to the long talk with Auntie Neka. It was the 40 minutes that took me from believing my life was over to realizing it was just beginning. I stopped seeing myself through the lens of other people's expectations and started seeing myself as my own hero. The moral lesson. True, deep love isn't a fairy tale waiting to be found. It's a community built by two people. It's about being stubborn like the clay pot, taking the heat, cracking a little, but always holding the essential water of your life together. If you have ever felt like you weren't good enough, or that your time was running out, after stopping and watching this, I hope this story changed how you look at love, marriage, and your own worth. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts. We encourage comments and discussion in the comment section. Guess what? Another story is coming up in a few days. Do well to hit the notification bell to be notified, and do subscribe and give a thumbs up to like and encourage this channel, Evelyn Sampson TV. Feel free to share and invite your friends. Thank you once again for being a part of our storytelling journey.